All right, I think we can get started. So today, it's going to be myself and John. I'm the VP of Business Development here at Fusionary, and we help people build B2B and B2C websites. I'm excited to talk about expanding B2B e-commerce to B2C. All right, I'm going to jump right into it, and we're going to start off by talking about our sponsor today, which is PayTrace. And so PayTrace is your B2B payments experts, and they're a proud sponsor of acuCONNECT 2025. So PayTrace, they are, when you think about finance and accounting teams need to automate the manual time-consuming tasks of collecting payments, reconciliation, and chasing invoices. With Trace AR for Acumatica from PayTrace, the B2B payment experts, companies can do the following: reduce days sales outstanding from an average of 45 days to 1 week, gain greater visibility into cash flow, supporting better financial decisions, provide customers with an online payment portal that lets them pay the way they want, and qualify for lower credit card processing rates and comply with Visa's CEDP requirements. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to John to just talk about a couple stats that are near and dear.
Hey everybody, glad to be with you today, and thanks to our host Acumatica for bringing us in. What we're hearing from our customers and what we're seeing from research is just a dramatic shift in the B2B space into e-commerce experiences. And I think it's just important to note that as great as many of our customer service areas are that have historically been phone-based, our customers really want to be able to communicate and get tasks done on their own time through not customer service, but self-service. They want to do what they want to do quickly and easily, and that means providing e-commerce solutions for them. And so there's a significant increase in what's happening from a B2B side of things, and we'll give you a little bit more stats on that as we move through the presentation.
Great. Glad to hear it, Philip. All right. So how we're going to break this down today is I'm going to talk about kind of three buckets of websites. I'm going to talk about B2C websites. I'm going to talk about traditional B2B, and so the features that are with traditional B2B. And then we're going to talk about emerging B2B websites. And so to lay the groundwork, I want to just talk about B2C websites and traditional B2B. And really, this first line is kind of the most important. And we're going to talk about what we consider a shopping experience versus a buying experience. A buying experience is really just about a transactional piece, whereas a shopping experience is much more. But when you go out to something such as a Gap, you're going to browse around on the jeans, and you're going to take, and you can't see John because your profile is still in his face. I don't know. We'll have to scoot up a little bit, John, here.
All right.
Get cozier.
You're not missing anything.
I think scoot that way.
Oh.
So, all right. So with a shopping experience, when you go out to Gap, you're buying a pair of jeans. You're interested in looking at the different types from boot cut to athletic cut. And as you're out there, you decide that you're going to also buy a couple of different shirts. And then you get to the very end of that, and all of a sudden you decide, oh, I'm $5 away from free shipping. And so you go out and buy one more shirt. And as you do it, they upsell you into getting it embroidered or getting that extra large tall or something like that. For those that know me, I could use the large talls. Whereas, the buying experience is more about ordering parts for a particular job. So you might be going out there and saying, I have a list of all these things from my field employee of the things I need to buy for this job. Or maybe I'm buying spare parts for a CNC machine. So I might even open up a manual and look at it and go, I need, this, XYZ3245 part number. I need 6 of those. I need 3 different springs. I need some oils. And I'm going to put all of that out there just so I have that spare supplies. And so it's very much of, I know what I want, I'm coming out and getting it. That's what B2B has been. And so when you think about it, B2C is about learning products, whereas B2B is you understand exactly what you want. And so If we go back to, if I go down a little bit more, the customer profile should be fairly obvious, end customers versus wholesale and distributors. And then the design here really goes back to the experience. It's a tailored user experience for the design, whereas traditional B2B is it's basic screens, functional screens about being able to put in orders or put in products and make an order. Okay, so let's talk about what are those B2B features that we see today. Then we'll do it at the B2C features, and then we'll show how those are merging together. And so the first off, what we really see is just basic stuff. Do I have pricing, price lists, maybe some customer-specific catalogs, and potentially do I have what kind of inventory visibility do I have? Some people turn that on, some people turn that off, but on the B2B, we see that. We also see that there are self-service portals for being able to pay, so customer invoices and tracking information such as shipments and etc. The B2B side, we'll see multi-storefronts for maybe a particular channel or for a region, or maybe they have dealer portals. So various different versions of B2B. And B2B is not always just about distributors and manufacturers. It very much is. That's where just most of it is. But we see it in a whole different flavors from e-learning on down the line. So on the B2B side, one of the other traditional features we see is the ability of who can buy. So there's roles and permissions around who can buy something. They may be different buying groups. They may have thresholds of what they can buy. And how they buy, the next piece here is they have, they're ordering quickly. They might do some bulk ordering. They might have a CSV file or an Excel file that has all the different parts they want to order, and they just push that file to the website and quickly be able to build out a list. And then they could also reorder from passwords. That's always been there. The next part that we see here is really around quotes and RFQ process. And this is going to change. In traditional B2B, it had a lot of times we would see customers think about this as saying, I'm just going to have them put in RFQ. There's too much other things that need to happen, too many other steps, and it's going to go into Acumatica. And then someone from Acumatica, either a sales rep or a customer support individual, will go back and call them, complete the quote, and finish it all out. We'll show how that changes in a minute. So then if we keep going, we're talking about traditional B2C features. So this is really about finding that product. And so with that, we have the ability to search different ways that you can discover products on a website. We have left-hand navigation that has some filtering functionality to it. And then there is, various different ways. These next two bullets or next two sections is about how do you increase your average order value? So that's through product recommendations, cross-selling those shirts with that pant that I talked about, upselling the fact that they decide that they're going to embroider your initials on that shirt, promotions, discounting rules, bundles, all things to take and convince a customer to buy a little bit more. And man, is that free shipping probably the one that works the best all days. And so if we continue on, there's a lot of things around returns, post-purchase order tracking, and those two are really about, having your customer service functions happen online as opposed to incurring a cost for a customer to be able to call in and make an adjustment. When you think about B2B, a lot of times that is calling in a rep. And so when people start to go with newer websites, there is that shift of, well, what functions do those people do now? Lastly, on the B2C side, it's about learning the product, loving it, understanding more. And so how do they do that? Reviews, videos, you have multiple product images, rich PDP content. So PDP, product detail page content. So you can think about that as any page is about a particular item. And then there's also so many different options on payments. Some of the few that are out there are, subscriptions, recurring order reminders, buy now, pay later, and then just your traditional, credit card payments. So where does that bring us? So that brings us into emerging B2B features. And I broke this down into three categories. There's more things that are happening in the B2B space than this, but these are the ones that we're seeing the most as we talk to customers that are just more prevalent. And so personalized experiences, self-service options, and product learning. And so on the personalized experience side, it's really about the UI UX, so user interface, user experience, being tailored to different customer segments. And so there's nuances in how they think about a wholesale versus a distributor versus a franchise. I'm going to use a little bit more of a B2C example because I think the differences between them helps people understand that. And so for me, that example is parents, teachers, and students. Students are able to take and see their grades, some personalized information about their social security, and some images out there. Teachers may only be able to see things about grades, but they're not going to be able to see things about their social security or some of the other personalized information. Whereas parents are probably also have access to maybe some payment options. So those three different users have a very different personalized experience. And when I touch on SPACs a little bit later, we'll talk about how we see that. And so if we continue on the personalized experiences, we're really thinking about like robust configurators. And so that can be for when you build out a boat company. How does your boat, the finish of it look, the different colors, the different seats, building a car, same sort of scenario. Maybe you're building some cabinets. Those can be very robust configurators. And then product calculators. If you're building a deck, how much wood do you need? How much screws do you need? And lastly, when we think about personalized experiences, every website that is ever built today should always be mobile friendly. We have a younger audience, and just because you're B2B, it's no excuse that your website isn't mobile friendly. It just has to be that way these days. So when we continue on, we have those self-service options. And so, just as an aside, we see more and more with the people in the B2B side that orders are being placed on nights, weekends, various off hours. Not to say that's where the bulk of the orders are, but it is happening at a higher frequency. And so customers do want and do appreciate this ability to self-serve when it's convenient for them or when they're in a pinch and they need it, right away. And so one of those ones that's also different from the past is bidirectional RFQs. You start an RFQ, goes into Acumatica, and traditionally somebody calls you. Now instead, a sales rep or a sales engineer can make some adjustments to that RFQ, push that RFQ back up. And they might be pushing it up with more than just the order information. Maybe they're adding some images or some specs or some drawings, extra comments, extra questions, changing some prices, making some adjustments here. That might go back and forth a couple of different times before it finally gets approved out on your customer B2B portal. And then reorder options. Things that are traditionally acceptable on the B2C side for like wish lists or previous orders are now becoming more prevalent in B2B. And one of the ones I think is the most fascinating here for reorder options is what we call, made it up here, the garage option. And so if you're a aftermarket automotive supplier, you can create a garage of different cars that a particular person owns, or trucks, or whatever they may be, and they can ensure as they go out and buying those brake pads or buying those windshield wipers or whatever it may be, that it actually fits their particular vehicle. Same thing can be said for appliances or any other kind of collection of goods that a customer might want to have. And then pricing. So pricing's just become more robust. Instead of having just a couple different options for pricing, there's a lot more around tiered pricing and volume pricing and customer pricing and promotions. Why is that? Well, because we're doing more promotions. We're trying to convince people to buy more goods, and therefore this tiered and volume pricing is more important. Next, the other piece that we have is really just around payments. Just a lot more options here. In particular, probably one of the things that happens more in the B2B space is subscriptions. And it's really fascinating in the sense that as we start to talk to a customer, their current website doesn't have anything around subscriptions, but they just recognize that as a huge opportunity for them to make more money, connect with their customers, And so subscriptions is kind of like always one of those things as we get into a project that people are like, man, it would be great if we did add on that. We just didn't think it was possible. It clearly is. So beyond that, the other type of things that's happening around payments is just saved carts and how people are managing those approvals. All right, the last category here, then we're going to get into a couple case studies, is around product learning. And so product detail pages are way more robust. And so those are the PDP pages that we would say. They have more PDFs, they have more videos, they have product reviews, and especially in the B2B space, we see a lot more technical sheets that are out there. In the past, we've seen some companies go, man, I don't want to publish that. That's our secret sauce. But what they start to realize more and more is that, there's a lot of ways that people can get to these technical sheets and other information. And if they put it out there, it's going to drive more traffic to their website and overall help them sell more. So we've talked about it before, cross-selling, upselling their products just results in larger carts. And so one other term that I always heard that kind of always confused me is just, a robust faceted searching. And what does that really mean? It really means that on your left-hand navigation, if you think about it, there's, when you go to buy a t-shirt, there's the extra large, large, medium, small, and there's the red, yellow, green. And having those filters happen there helps reduce the overall amount of searching that needs to go through if you have 10,000 or 100,000 products. And so that's what a faceted search means. That term always confused me when I started in this industry. So I'm going to pause for just a minute for myself.
Arlene, you mentioned a 10-foot disco ball. I really want to see that disco ball. That sounds amazing.
I believe that might have been Arlene that bought that, knowing Arlene, but I'm not sure.
It had to look great. I don't know, in the Superdome or something.
There you go. Cool. All right. So this first case study is a customer that we're currently building a website for. And so they sell both B2B and B2C. But what was super interesting is when we met them in person, we asked them, are you selling more B2B or are you selling more B2C? It changes a little bit of what we do. And they couldn't quite answer the question. And the reason was they sell B2B, but they want everything that's happening in the B2C space. And so when they sell, and so they're selling traditionally to gyms and universities. And what they do is they are replacing pads and cables for expensive gym equipment. It gets wore out. The pads and the cables do, but obviously the equipment's fine. And they also sell to home gym equipment individuals. I'm probably not one of those people. Based on my stature, I don't quite fit that bill. But there's definitely people that have some really nice equipment. So what was unique about them? First and foremost, their B2B site, they're selling, 95% of their stuff that they're selling through B2B, through those gyms and universities, but a cable configurator. And so if you think about it, they have make sure I'm in screen here. They have a length of cable. They have one end on here that attaches to the machine, and they have another end that attaches to a bar or some other some other handle. And so building out that cable configurator is very much a B2C type feel, but it's what the B2B industry needs. They don't know how to order that product properly with a 1/4 eye hole versus a 3/8 eye hole, unless they're getting a little bit of help along the way. And then they also did a vinyl square footage calculator. So if I'm going to do the pad replacement myself, how much vinyl do I need? If we go down a bullet, they also wanted to have a visual navigation. And so as a customer, one of the biggest things here is it's very customized product. And so if they build a replacement pad and it's for the wrong piece of equipment, it's kind of really hard to take that back. It's not useful to them as full circle or to the customer. And so they have a visual navigation. What I mean by that is as they're searching and navigating down for a particular product, it's not just hammer strength, but it's a picture of the hammer strength logo. It's a picture of the product line. It's a picture of the model, so the customer has comfort that they're ordering the right thing. And that's as much of the benefit to Full Circle and making sure that they send out the right thing as it is to a customer to know that they've got the right piece of equipment. They're more likely to order because of that. And they're less likely to pick up the phone and call Full Circle and say, hey, did I order the right thing or not? And then kind of this next piece is really fascinating, is they do pad replacement. And so with that is vinyl. And, a Planet Fitness versus the, Michigan University or et cetera, want to have a whole different vinyl color scheme or palette. And as they build out and get more vinyls or replace vinyls, that would mean they would have to potentially replace, images for their 50,000 different products that they have. Instead, what we do is we're taking a base image for them, and then we're applying a vinyl overlay to it that's got texture to it and everything else, looks just like the regular product. And so for those 30 different, so we need one image that we create, it's a specialized image, and then those 30 different layers of different colors can be applied. And if they decide all of a sudden that they want to drop 3 of those vinyls and add 5 other ones, it's really just as easy as saying, hey, what's the new colors that you want to have it rendered in? And then as the customer clicks on that, it's rendered automatically for them. So with all that, they're also doing a full ERP integration. And we think about that as an initial integration of product and pricing and customers moving into the system. And then later on, new customers and orders moving back into the ERP. And lastly, we talked about those complex cart approvals. They have this going on. And so if they have a Planet Fitness situation, that franchisee may own 9 different gyms from Grand Rapids to Lansing. And somebody from Grand Rapids may say, here's all the pads I want. Somebody from Lansing may say, here's all the pads I want. And then someone from the franchisee owner later on is going to approve that. So that's a little bit about Full Circle. I got one more case study, then I'm going to hand it over to John. And so the next one is Spax US. And so they are selling B2B and B2B2C. And so primarily they make screws, just screws for building cabinets, decks, other wood projects, metal projects, etc. And they all have different characteristics from strength and ability to hold things. And so what is interesting here is, like I said, their ideal client profile is for Lowe's and Home Depot, also for wholesalers. But the site has different pieces also for the pro builders and the DIY users. And so if you think about a site like this, what they can do is they can come out here and just say, hey, I want that 2-inch T-star screw. Or maybe instead, and if you're Lowe's or Home Depot, hey, you're going to be able to understand that. Or even if you're a pro builder, you can say that's exactly what I want. But if I'm a DIYer, I don't know that. What I want to do is I actually want to read a little blog, read a little case study about how to build a cabinet. And then at the end of that, I want you to filter down from your 1,000 different screw options and give me just the 4 screws that I typically need to take and build out this cabinet. So we do that in the mega menu. And so we call this piece up here, which is the top part of a website, a mega menu. And so they have products out here if they want to just go right to a product. They have applications, which is what they call the case study piece, which is for the DIY individuals. Or if you're a pro builder, you might want to just shop by a particular head style. So that is how they kind of differentiate that for those different customer segments. A couple other unique things that Spax does is that they do a decking calculator and a where to buy piece. And so with that, once you found your particular screw, hey, here's the different locations. There's actually a map also here that shows, distance and how to get to directions to Lowe's, Menards, Home Depot. Or maybe there's a decking project calculator. So you see things like this, it helps out the customer. I got a 12-foot by 12-foot deck with 12-inch joint spacing. And as I do this whole calculation, it says, hey, you're going to need 2 rolls of joist tape, and you're going to need this particular screw, the 10x by 3 screws, and you're going to need 620 of them. And so these sorts of tools are very much B2B functionality here. And so if I touch back just one more second, Stax is selling B2B, the wholesale Home Depot wholesalers, and they're also selling B2B to C. So they sell to Home Depot, and then the C portion comes in for the pro builders and DIY users that go to those Lowe's and Home Depot to take and buy particular products. I probably should have made a poll out there of who shops at Lowe's or Home Depot. I'm sure that's pretty polarizing. So I'm a Lowe's guy. But all right, last slide. Our last case study is all you, John.
So this is Serify, and Serify is an aggregator of online learning solutions for professionals. They tend to be in the finance, insurance industry, et cetera, and they require all kinds of certifications. So, these sort of kind of certified financial planners, brokers, et cetera. What's fascinating here is, and something maybe you can think about in your own business, is if you have, sort of more than one brand, or you need more than one site in order to get done, whatever it is you need to do for your business, what's possible and what these guys did, with our help, was to put up completely separate, unique experiences that were branded for each of their necessary businesses, but do it from a single consolidated back end. So they weren't having to manage multiple sites, only the front ends, and it made it much more easy for them. It's easier for them from an administrative perspective to kind of work inside one instance that ultimately serves uniquely and well each of their brands and their constituents separate. So that's just one of maybe the most important things to take away from Serify, is that if you have that kind of complex business, these solutions will allow you to manage it much, much more simply than perhaps you could before. It also lets them aggregate all of the data from these various sites in a single location. Again, understanding behavior, usage, conversions, revenue, etc. So just wanted to highlight that there. We only have a couple minutes, so we'll just kind of pop on.
All right. We timed it almost perfect, but hopefully there's at least one good question out there we'd love to answer.
And while we're waiting for the question to come in, I just did want to share a thought with you as we think about, how much revenue should I be generating? How much revenue should our business be generating through an e-commerce solution? Look, we meet business-to-business providers today, really capable manufacturers and distributors, et cetera, who are selling or generating almost no revenue today online. And what we see as a benchmark today is like 30%. We would expect most businesses to be at the 30% level by now, meaning their customers are interacting with them at that level. Some of them are as high as 60 and 70%, depending on the type of products and industries that they're in, that the revenue is coming through e-commerce as a result. So what that should tell you on the call is that this is something that we need to do because the customers expect it. They want that self-serve. And what you'll find is it works the other direction, that your own customer service people, instead of being in your ERP to place orders, will actually be in the back end of these commerce solutions to place the orders. So it greatly simplifies the process for your customer, but also for your own internal salespeople as well. No questions? We landed with 30 seconds.
Well, thank you everybody for attending our session. Please feel free to reach out to either of us and hope you guys have a great show.
Thanks everybody.